his.
The first was in 1972, when digging under the ash at Santorini, archaeologists made a startling discovery, linking this area of the world with the Exodus. They found unusual Minoan-style wall paintings. Incredibly, among them there is a map depicting an ancient journey from Egypt to Greece.
The whole scene may be considered as the earliest, the oldest map in the world.
The map is breathtaking. The colors as vibrant today as 3,500 years ago. It depicts an epic journey from Egypt to Santorini. The voyage is complete with a terrible storm at sea. Working even further back, we see that the ancient sailors sailed past Egyptian fauna and palm trees in the Nile Delta. The map then follows the river inland, and it ends up in a magical city on a kind of river-bound island. This mysterious city is surrounded by high walls with multi-storied houses, elegant ladies peering from the rooftops, and a rich harbor. At the time, there was only one port in Egypt that fits the city in the map, the fabled Avaris. Until late in the 20th century, there was no archaeological proof of contact between Avaris and the Minoans of Santorini. Then, in 1992, perfectly preserved Minoan paintings were discovered at Avaris, proving that in biblical times, this city was populated not only by Israelites, but also by people from ancient Greece. Is it possible that here lie some of the followers of Moses? The answer is on the tombstones that we now know were placed on top of the death chambers. The meaning of the images on the gravestones has never been deciphered until now.
If you ask scholars, what is it? They say, well, it looks like a hunt, but there's no animal. Or it looks like a battle, but there's no two people fighting. Let's look at it and let's see what in fact do the grave stelae of Mycenae actually testify to if we just look at it very simply, without any prejudice and without any preconceptions.
I almost want to whisper some kind of secret because nobody realizes that they have a 3,500-year-old movie, if you will, 3 frames of the parting of the sea. And they don't know it. They don't know it, but look at it. Just look at it. It's so clear. Frame number 1, you see waves on top and waves on the bottom. You actually literally see the parting of the sea. And this guy is on a chariot chasing Moses, who's holding a staff. That's frame number 1. And right over here, you have frame number 2 in the movie. The water is gathering into whirlpools. And look what's happened over here. Everybody thinks the man with the staff is the loser, but he's actually turned around. He's turned around. He's facing his enemy. He's occupying higher ground, and this guy is occupying lower ground. And look, there's walls of water coming. And in the 3rd frame, which is in another museum, even more hidden, you see this guy's been overturned, the water is engulfing them, the horses are upended, and the story is complete.
But what do the experts say?
In this very example, the options can be mainly 2. Either he is a warrior in a battle scene, and he's the enemy, he's chasing the enemy, and the enemy is trying to escape holding his sword. And the second option may be the chariot race scene.
So this guy is, this is kind of an ancient Olympics, this guy is an official, and this guy is racing around.
He is bearing a sword as well, and he's holding a sword.
This doesn't look like much of a sword, it looks more like a staff to me.
Yes, in this case, it's an abstract depiction. It's not a naturalistic depiction, so we cannot say much.
To understand what's going on here,
All you have to do is actually take this 3D image, which has been flattened out, and just pull it out. Just pull it out. And what you get is the biblical story.
When the 3 stelae are put together, what we see, exactly as depicted in the book of Exodus, is an Egyptian charioteer chasing Moses across the parted sea. Then, Moses turns and faces his pursuer. Walls of water rise and come down on the Egyptians. Finally, rider, chariot, and horses are drowned. Here, we have literally carved in stone a visual account of the biblical tale dating back to the very time of Moses and the Exodus.
dead man may neither be burned nor buried within the walls of the city. Such was the decree of Roman law between the 2nd and 4th century A.D. This strict rule about how corpses were to be disposed of was imposed on all residents of Rome. Most Romans were pagan and preferred to be cremated. Their ashes were stored in small urns above ground. But the ancient Christians and Jews of Rome insisted on burial of their dead. Wealthy citizens had lined the roads just outside the city with family tombs. These tombs were called catacombas, which is Greek for at the hollows. The name came from the natural hollow spaces that lined the Via Appia, one of the ancient roads that led to and from Rome. Into these hollow spaces, the first Christian cemetery was built above ground. It is from these early catacombas that the catacombs of Rome evolved. More clues about these early practices come from nearby paintings.
The paintings in the catacombs give us some of our best clues to what early Christian practice really was. And you have pictures of mixed groups of people sitting around tables, drinking wine, and eating bread. And this was a very touchingly simple kind of a ceremony.
Scholars believe that this simple communal meal of the early Christians freely adopted Greek and Roman symbols and mythology for inspiration in the catacombs. Many walls depict Hercules, the great mythological hero who was famous for his courage and strength. Here, Hercules is killing the multi-headed Hydra of Lerna, which could grow 2 new heads for each one it lost. Of the Good Shepherd.
The Good Shepherd can be understood, in a sense, as an image of Christ that reflects if he described himself as the Good Shepherd. And the use of the Good Shepherd in the Christian catacomb is a way of depicting Christ without actually portraying him.
For example, Jonah, in the 3 basic things, he sees the whale, he gets swallowed by it, and then he's spit out into the ocean. That's a very common scene, and it is, of course, a clear reference to
the biblical story of Daniel in the lion's den is represented by a nude person standing between 2 lions. The ancient Christians believed Daniel conquered this danger with prayer. Symbolic painted figures. This tomb is called the Crypt of the Coopers, so named because these ancient coopers, or barrel makers, were entombed behind a painting that depicts a group of men posed with one of their barrels. The principal Jewish catacombs are Via Torlonia to the north and Via Rondinini, which lies under the road called Via Appia Antica, site of the original catacombas burial places. Walls also depict the image of sailors buried here. Perhaps these hearty souls manned the vessel.
Moses figures very highly in the Jewish non-Christian catacombs. The scenes are gods and gods.
The Middle Ages saw the catacombs visited by the thoughtful and the destructive. But their true value as a time capsule. But who were these people? The images on the walls of Via Latina tell their story. These fragments from an ancient culture preserve for us the beliefs of a simpler time. To look upon these walls is to look deep into the past.
Joy and a kind of expectation of life in the world to come. There was an immediacy to their faith that is not to be found very often in people's religious beliefs today.
Today, the catacombs confront us with a difficult challenge: to preserve the great legacy left to us by those early believers for the next 2,000 years. It is a challenge that must be faced by all those who go in search of history.